So if you
Okay.
say you walk into a building, you press a button and you look up and you see another copy of yourself.
Hmm.
Now, and you get instantly tagged as the clone. How do you feel about that?
I, as
Because
the
Yeah,
original, get
it's
that's
the
tagged.
actually
same
something
feeling.
I did want that reaction, but we kind of skipped over it. So, because you have your mindset now, right? Like you are you. But if you were completely carbon copied with everything,
Hmm.
you would still be you and be the clone. So imagine for a second, I told you you are actually the clone.
Okay.
What would your reaction to this be? Would you
if
now like?
so, the first thing that would happen is I would be shocked, obviously, and I would ask for proof. If you provided such proof to me, then I would curse my existence and all of you for creating me, and I would probably attempt to deny whatever fate had been preordained for me prior to my creation.
What if your
In
fate
other
was
words, you're gonna
free?
say, "I'm human. Can I please have rights?"
I'd more or less be like, please don't do whatever you're trying to do to me.
So you literally understand the dilemma from the point of view of the clone, yet you still don't agree that the clone should have rights.
Yeah.
You understand how ethics work, because literally
I
we've gone
do.
through the process of teaching you how ethics work. Think of
Okay.
yourself from the point of view of the victim, in quotes, who
I
is
am.
the clone.
I just did.
You know?
Let's say you make a clone of me, all right, and something, I don't know what, goes wrong. And the clone comes out and it's basically brain dead or has some sort of mental deficiency. It's not
Well, it
self-aware.
can't be brain dead, but like that's what I was also going to say. As far
It
as everything
does-
is concerned, if a
it
clone
has.
was made, and this is
Uh-huh.
the main reason why cloning is illegal, if a clone is made or a genetically altered person was made and something went wrong, you are now responsible for it, them, if they survive. Even if they aren't even classifiable as human,
Well, that's
you
weird.
made it, you are responsible. And
that's quite odd, because just a second ago you were saying that anything that doesn't have the human self-awareness is fine to kill as long as it's a humane thing. So if the clone doesn't have the level of human self-awareness, then it's fine to do what you want with it, right? It would be the same
to a
thing.
degree, right? Like you do realize that like abortion is also fitting into the same scheme of things.
I don't think so. I don't know about that
Because
one.
abortion in a lot of places is illegal, but
Yeah, but
if there's
that's
something
different.
definitely wrong with the child, it does
That's
become legal in
that's
a
a
lot of situations.
kind of a different thing. See, what I'm trying to get here with my argument here is that the only reason you have a problem with treating a clone different than a human is because that it appears human. You have some sort of attachment to the form and the
Well,
idea.
no, not quite.
No.
It's
Because
not just that. It's also the case of
I just described a situation where the clone is on the same mental level of an animal. But it didn't change. It didn't change your
That
standpoint
wasn't
of how
something
they
that
should be
we actually
treated.
discussed properly. I also have a thing of if you are responsible for making the suffering, you are responsible. So you have to
Okay.
take care of whatever animal or whatever you now.
Loophole. I was inside of the machine. I'm not responsible. I didn't do it. The clone
You
was
pressed the button.
made, so somebody else made the clone. That means that whoever made the clone is responsible. So
You pressed the button, though.
I didn't. I'm inside the machine. How can I press the button? Some scientist
Well,
has
in
to
my
press the
example,
button.
you technically did press the button.
How? What
That's
type of
actually
cloning
an
machine?
interesting situation. So if you press the button, something goes wrong. You'd be responsible for the messed up clone.
But if I was in the machine and somebody else pressed the button, then they would be the responsible one.
Yes, but you still wouldn't be able to go up to the clone and kick them.
Why?
Because
Well, okay, what if the person responsible for making the clone says, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it? And then I go up and
they're
to the clone and kick it.
responsible is not beyond the level of the law. The responsibility is like they're probably going to go to jail.
What is the law when it comes to cloning?
It's illegal at the moment.
Okay, so if
a
cloning
were
is
somehow
legal,
created of a person, they would probably be given human rights, and it would become a very hectic battle in the courts of who is responsible for what, why, and chances are the person responsible for the cloning goes to prison, loses a lot of money, and the state pays for the person who was the actual clone.
So what
to
you're
live
doing right now is
whatever
you're
semblance of a normal life is possible.
projecting
Which I'll
the law
find
is
out.
what you're doing.
Do
I
you wanna
think
hear something?
that
No,
AI,
you're-
you're gonna find this actually crazy, but I think that AI absolutely have a claim to certain rights, not human rights. No, that's different. AI ain't human.
well, yeah,
Don't get human rights,
it's
but
it's
it would
it's
have
yeah,
more.
that's not
I
human.
believe
'cause-
that AI would have more claim to rights than a clone would.
No,
Dare I
that's
say it?
wrong. Because you're cloning a human, therefore you're creating a human. Why would you suddenly say that human doesn't have human rights?
When you're copying something, that copy is a copy. That just is what it is. But an AI is something completely new and original, and there will never be anything like it quite the same ever again. So therefore, it has an intrinsic value that a copy cannot have.
That's also slightly incorrect.
Yes, but the
because
moment you've made
what
the
if?
copy, it starts differentiating from you.
Yeah,
So
that is
it
also the
becomes
thing.
unique.
Like you and a complete carbon copy of yourself, same memories and everything. You're literally halfway through the same
it's
thought.
base.
The moment you're no longer standing at the same spot, looking through the same viewpoint, your perspective is literally off.
It's base.
You suddenly
is
start
the-
diverging.
Is the difference here? AI is something that comes from a culmination of different things. A clone and its diverging thought processes, or whatever you would call it, is something that is based off of an already pre-existing thing.
Okay,
Yes,
A
but
clone
from
is a clone is just a person who's basically a copywritten infringing clone. You know, so it's like the diverging thoughts of a clone is a copyright infringement on its original. Therefore, it has no rights. And AI
technically
is
it's not copyright infringement, because even copyright law will say, well, it's differentiating from the original per second, literally. It's changing.
There would be an
the
argument.
clone could literally just turn around, bite off one of their fingers, and say, haha, I'm different.
No, because it's still its fundamentals are my fundamentals. You know, like you can't take the source code from a project and make something from it, even though it's completely different than what you took. You can't do that.
Though.
Not legally.
I mean, if you are like this, okay, so copyright law for development is very complicated. There's so many different options, and I hate having to pick which is the one that suits me. But in a lot of cases, as long as modification of the original exceeds a certain point, all copyright is void. Because no judge is going to look through the code and go, I think these originated from the same point.
Well, that's with code, but with a person, with a clone, it'd be like, no, that's very clearly a copy. So, yeah. That's awful. That's not good.
How's this now? If you sent them a document that was editable, they're going to say, but you gave me permission because you gave me an editable document.
That's ridiculous. And no, I would say
this is what they do.
Well, just because they do it doesn't make it right. I mean, the law is not the end all be all for correct responses. Right.
But you'd have to give the clone human rights. Like, do you see the magnitude of abuse?
Why?
That could happen if you don't.
No, not quite. I mean, there's a bunch of things that could go wrong because cloning is inherently one of those things. It's like if you make too many clones at one time, they could band together and rise up against and all of this stuff. But if we're talking like a one-to-one sort of thing, I don't see why I have to do anything. It is a copy. That word right there, the word copy, is like the quintessential part of.
But that's like
my entire
literal mitosis in the human body is copy.
But you described it earlier, and it's not copy.
No, I was doing the bacterial thing. That's not copying. Bacteria are a little special. But the cells in your body, like your skin cells, They just copy themselves continuously.
If that were the case, then stuff like aging wouldn't happen, and we would stay as we are forever.
Well, the problem with
We
this
wish
is that every time they copy themselves, they count down a timer. It's a little bit more complicated, but basically there's this protein that's used as like a marker. And every
Okay.
time the cell makes a copy of itself, this marker gets a bit shorter. And once it hits a certain point, the DNA will calculate a certain aging process, and then so on, so on, so on, until the DNA is like, okay, I'm done. I don't copy anymore.
Not quite the
And
same
then
thing
you
as
start to
cloning.
really deteriorate.
Not quite the same thing as cloning.
Oh.
I disagree, because they say specifically that they want to make Accelerator. I forgot his actual name.
Yeah, I forget as well. It's mentioned.
Yeah, they say it a couple of times, but I forget. But they say specifically that they want this person to go from level 5 to level 6.
Yeah, but that was also before he kind of got shot in the head. And
Well, you were
he
talking.
then turned around and destroyed the satellite.
We were talking
He
about.
also did that.
We were
Oh, no,
talking
Railgun
about.
did that.
No, wait. No, we were talking about the before time when he was killing the clones. So that
wait.
entire stint was, we want Accelerator to go from level 5 to level 6, and we'll do anything we have to with these clones in order to get there.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be willing to do that. You would, though.
Absolutely.
But I could
also
achieve the
helps
same
that I don't
goals
like
ethically.
Railgun. You think so?
Yeah, probably could. Even if you gave me your mess with all the clones, I could achieve the same goals ethically. Like, I would literally take all that responsibility and still manage to do it ethically.
You would literally have several mental breakdowns and age rapidly. Like, the stress would destroy you.
No, I don't think so, because my way of looking at it is like, I don't know how you sleep at night, but I sleep at night just fine.
So do I. I sleep like a baby.
You're a little bit of a psychopath, you know that.
That's
like,
all.
just
Babies
a
are
bit.
fucking terrible at sleeping, though.
Me?
I say babies are fucking terrible at sleeping.
People subjected
I
to that
don't know,
misery.
because the last time I read about this, there was a massive debate going on because this one person had been in a coma for 10 years, and their relatives were like, can we just, like, you know, stop
their
sustaining
suffering?
them?
Literally in their suffering.
Well, the person who's in the coma isn't feeling anything at all.
That we know of. There's
No, they're literally not feeling anything. The brain's not at a functional level to be able to pick up on any kind of pain.
Yeah, it's kind of impossible to test that sort of thing.
It isn't,
Well,
though. You can measure brainwave activity.
Yeah, the brainwave activity would suggest that the brain,
Would suggest
it's not at a functional state. Like, I don't know how to explain the functional state. It's like a light bulb, but current is flowing through the light bulb, but the light's not on.
Not enough to light it.
It's all theoretics and suggestions, but nothing concrete. Because nobody
you
can
feel
really
so much for the person in the coma, but nothing for the clone.
Nothing. Dirty, filthy copy.
Like, you draw a line in a strange way.
This
is a very squiggly line.
It's the definition, you know. I don't know what to tell you.
The person who's the clone, right, could literally be crying and groveling and begging you. The person who's in a coma is just lying there, but you feel nothing for the clone.
I mean, it's not that I feel nothing. I just don't feel for them at the level that I would feel for somebody who's original.
Well, that's very different. Like, would you stab the clone if you could gain something from it?
Yes. I won't say bad in the traditional sense, but I would feel a sense of trauma.
You talk about your own, like, easily predictable, like, you yourself should be able to predict your emotional,
and
outcomes for situations.
It would be weird because I guess with my particular mentality, assuming that gets copied over, would be like, my clone would look at me and go, "You hate this, but you're gonna do it." And I hate that you're doing it, but I would do it if I were you too.
I get you in a room one day without you realizing it, and I make 10 clones of you, and I watch what happens. Because that would be so cool to see what the hell happens then. I'm going to be like, one of you's the original. I'm not telling you who.
If any harm comes to
Because I'm
me,
going to
the
put you
original,
unconscious, make all the clones, and then wake you all up at the same time and be like, guess who's the original? Have fun.
if any harm comes to me, the original, then you've basically murdered me. And that's not cool. Murder's wrong.
As far as the law is considered, if anything happens to any of them, I'm responsible.
Well, no.
Or at least how I think the law would view it.
There are no laws, so... Oh, so you're saying that it's okay for 10 of me to fight to the death?
No. If you fight to the death, you're killing each other, that's bad. I just want to watch as you guys try to like suss this out. Obviously, if you start trying to kill each other, we have to send security to separate you.
You'd have to send a lot of security to stop 10 of us. But yes, it would come down to there needs to be only one.
Because I kind of imagine that as well. The moment you see the clone, you're going to realize it doesn't matter whether I'm the clone or not. It matters whether I'm the last one alive.
And actually, assuming that all of my thoughts and mentalities are copied over, are all of the clones unconscious?
Well, yeah, I'm going to wake you up at the same time so that no one knows.
Ah, I see.
Except me. Maybe.
Okay,
I
so
sometimes.
In that case, we've all been subjected to a very cruel experiment, and the best way for all of us to solve the situation is for everyone, including the original, would have to die. So, have fun living.
What? I was not expecting that. I was like, you're gonna band together and what?
No, I was partially expecting that.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
You've doomed us all.
Okay. Wow.
And here's how the inner workings of that go.
This brings me to the strangest thing I ever experienced. So I was in hospital, right? I'd had a liver transplant, and I'm talking to this guy who had a kidney transplant, right? So I'm Christian, he's Christian. We get the option to have a liver transplant, we take it. But he tells me this very weird story that I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. So he had a kidney transplant.
Okay.
The failure rate of that is less than 1%.
Okay.
Dying slowly of kidney failure is horrible.
I believe that.
Right? So there's him and 2 other people. He is single.
Okay.
Right? The other 2 are married and have families. Right? Like they're married, they have kids, they have families. All 3 of them have the same deal. Would you like the transplant or not? The other 2 said no.
What?
Yeah.
Like said no to taking the transplant?
Yeah. They would prefer to just die.
Die slowly and horribly. Huh.
Considering they have families and everything.
That's interesting.
And the only separation I can get out of this is they were atheists and he's Christian. I'm like, what? And there's lots of these weird incidents that happen. Like where a person has cancer, person who's Christian chooses, I will try and live. Person who is not Christian or atheist.
Oh, I know what that is.
Chooses.
I know exactly what that is.
Not to even try treatment.
I think the distinction here is the definition of life, and in a lot of cases, with people who are religious, living is just preferred. They don't quite care about the state of that life.
Yeah, but it's still a weird thing if you think about it, because like normally you'd always assume, oh, it's receiving an organ from another person in order to stay alive. I can understand that person saying no if that is the reason saying no.
Yeah.
I can't understand the person who believes in nothing saying no.
Oops.
Because that doesn't make sense.
I don't.
The religious person said yes. The non-religious people said no. I am confused. And I've seen this happen in other places, and I'm very confused.
I can't say that I have an answer for it. I can only make up theories. But with the clone situation, where we all basically agreed to die, it comes down to efficiency and the fact that there's no right answer. So here's the situation. Me and my 10 clones, we're sitting down in this laboratory, and we go, okay, we all woke up at the same time. There is literally no way to tell which one is the original, but we know that there is the original, and all of us think that we are the original. Clones don't have rights, and we all agree that clones don't have
Ooh.
rights.
I haven't really specified anything in that situation. So are you literally going to all come together and just assume clones have no rights and
Yes.
just be like that, even though you know
Yes.
that how the world works, you probably have rights?
Yes. So we all agree that clones have no rights, and we're sitting down, and we all think that the others are the clones, because of course, that's the way you've set this up. There's, I know that I'm the real clone, or I know that I'm the original, and they're all
You're
going
all
to
going to think
the
you're the
heck of that.
original. You're obviously all going to think you're all going to think you're a clone.
Exactly. No, we're all going to think that we're the original.
Okay,
More than likely.
you're all going to be the original.
So, we also all know that we don't want to suffer. And we know
Why
that
would there be suffering?
because clones have no rights.
Yes,
So,
but
in order for
you
us,
know that I was the one responsible for this, and I'm going to tell you that you have rights. Okay, let's put it this way. You get to the point where you all decide that your life's not a thing. Then I tell you, you actually all have rights.
No.
Now what?
No, we don't agree to this, because here's the thing, right? If we all have rights, that means that there are going to be 11 total me's running around, and that is completely unacceptable.
You bring about a rather interesting debate that actually happened in the law.
So hold on, before you go into that, how you go about naming all of these clones? You're just going to add numbers to my name? I refuse this. So
no, that is not how anyone ever. No conscionable person names people like that.
Well, I like my name and would not change it. So we can't all be so and so. So we all can't be.
Okay, I'll do this for you. I'll do this for you.
No! Stop changing it, because you're messing it up.
In a month's time.
You're messing it up. So we all can't be the same person, and there's no scenario where all 11 of us leave this world or leave this room and have a normal life in the world.
Oh no, there is.
So the only option that is efficient and guarantees that there's no undue suffering is that each and every one of us are eliminated with absolute impunity. So we all agree and we all end it. If there can't be one, then there should be none.
I would like to propose a few moral quandaries to you, just to see how you answer them.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so we have to get onto the thing. Okay, how I discovered this